My name is Patrick Pa. I'm a structural engineer out of Atlanta, Georgia. I grew up on the South Side, went to Georgia Tech on a partial scholarship, and built everything I have with my own two hands. My grandmother used to say, "Baby, a man who builds things for a living knows when something is about to fall." I didn't understand what she meant until the night my wife called me from a Cancun airport and said 4 words she thought would save us. They didn't. I didn't go through with it. That's what Samantha said. 9:47 at night, me standing in my own kitchen in Southwest Atlanta, and my wife of 7 years is on the phone telling me she didn't sleep with a man she flew to Mexico to see. She said it like it was supposed to land soft. Like those 6 syllables were a lifeline she was throwing across the water. I want to tell you I grabbed it. I didn't. Because nobody tells you that betrayal isn't really about the act. The act is almost never the whole wound. The wound is everything that had to happen before. The lying, the planning, the way she looked me dead in my face over a dinner she cooked in our kitchen and told me she was going on a girls' trip. Her voice so clean and steady that I almost missed the way her eyes cut left for half a second before she smiled. Almost. My grandmother built her whole life on almost. I refused to. Let me take you back to a Tuesday evening in May. Ordinary evening. Came through the front door, house smelling like garlic and something good on the stove. Samantha in the kitchen on the phone the way she always was after work. I hung my keys on the hook by the door. The hook I installed myself the first week we moved in. And that's when I heard it. That drop. One register. The exact second my keys hit that hook, her voice went down like she was instinctively lowering a shade. Most husbands miss that. I didn't miss it. I catch stress fractures in concrete for a living. I know when something is holding more weight than it's supposed to. She switched back immediately. Warm, easy, natural. Okay, girl, I'll call you tomorrow. Love you. She turned from the stove, smiled at me with her whole face. Samantha has always had a smile that could make you forget what you walked into a room for, and said, "Hey, babe, you're home early." I come home at the same time every Tuesday. Have for 3 years. I smiled back. I washed my hands at the sink. I sat down and asked who was on the phone, and she said Claire without a single pause, without a single blink. "How's she doing?" I asked. "You know how Claire is. Always got something going on." She laughed. I laughed too. I passed her the hot sauce. I ate every bite of that dinner and told her about my day and listened to Hayes and watched the news with her afterward on the couch. But I did not forget that drop in her voice. I stored it the way my grandmother stored everything that mattered. Quietly, carefully, in a place where it wouldn't get lost. 3 days later, her phone was on the coffee table and mine was charging across the room. I picked Hayes up to check the time. I was not looking for anything. I want to be clear about that. I was not a suspicious husband going through his wife's phone. I was a man who needed to know if it was past 9 o'clock. The screen lit up before I even read the clock. Message preview. Contact saved as C. I assumed it was Claire. He said the villa has a private pool. You're not going to want to come home. I set the phone back down on the exact angle I found it. Walked to the kitchen. Ran the tap cold. Filled a glass. Drank it standing at the sink staring at the backsplash my Uncle Ronnie helped me tile 2 summers ago. My father used to say the first 60 seconds after bad news are the ones that define you. Whatever you do in those 60 seconds, that's who you actually are, not who you think you are. I put the glass down, walked back to the living room, picked up the remote, turned on the TV. Samantha came downstairs 40 minutes later in her house robe, smelling like shea butter and that nighttime lotion she'd been using since college. She curled up against my side the same way she had for 7 years. I put my arm around her the same way I always did. She was asleep before the first commercial break. I stayed awake the entire night. I wasn't panicking. I was doing what engineers do, assessing the full damage before I touched a single thing. Because the worst mistake you can make with a cracked foundation is start pulling at it before you understand what's still holding the structure up. 10 days before she left, Claire came over on a Saturday with 2 iced coffees from the spot on Campbellton Road they've been going to since they were teenagers. I was in the living room watching the game. I could hear them upstairs. The music, Samantha laughing that real laugh. Claire saying, "Girl, yes. Wear that one. Don't even play with me." It was the most alive I'd heard my wife sound in months. I let that thought come. Let it sit for a second. Then I let it go. because I wasn't ready to carry it yet. Eventually, Claire came downstairs for water, passed through the living room. She had known me for 8 years. We weren't close, but we were cordial. Family cookouts, Thanksgiving, the occasional Sunday dinner. She'd never been rude to me. What she was something more precise than rude. She was politely indifferent, the way you are with furniture you've already mentally moved out of the house. "Hey, Patrick." "Hey, Claire. How you doing?" "I'm good. Real good." She smiled. She went to the kitchen. But in that half second between the smile and the tone, I saw something I had never seen in 8 years. Her eyes moved across me the way eyes move across something that's already been decided about. Not cruel, not guilty, just settled. Like she already knew how this chapter ended. I turned back to the game. I thought about my mother then. About the way she kept showing up for my father long after he'd already gone somewhere else in his heart. She used to iron his shirts on Sunday mornings for church, and he'd walk in already dressed in something else. I watched that for years. I told myself at 15, not me. I turned the volume up. I started building the plan. Morning she left. Samantha was up before 5:30, moving through our bedroom soft and careful, trying not to wake me. I had not slept right in 11 days. I sat up at 6, carried one of her bags to the front door, checked her passport was in her carry-on. I always check. It's our thing. She teases me about it every single time she travels. I asked about her portable charger and she laughed, genuinely, with her whole face, and said, "Patrick, I have the charger. I promise." That laugh nearly broke my entire plan in half. I need you to understand that. Because it wasn't performance. Samantha doesn't perform. When she laughs, it reaches her eyes, reaches her whole body. For 1 second, she was just my wife, laughing at a habit I have, and I was just her husband standing at the front door in my socks on a Saturday morning. Then Clay's Civic pulled into the driveway. Samantha hugged me, long, her arms all the way around my neck, face pressed into my shoulder. She was wearing the perfume she wore on our first date, the one she saves for occasions. I noticed it and filed it and held her back completely, the way I always hold her. "Miss me?" she said into my shoulder. "Have a good trip," I said. She pulled her carry-on down the front steps. Claire waved at me through the windshield. I waved back. I watched the car turn the corner. I went inside, sat at the kitchen table, opened my laptop. Atlanta to Cancun. 7 days from today. 1 passenger. 3 years ago, Samantha and I set up a shared iCloud backup when we were on the same phone plan. It was boring and practical, and we both completely forgot about it. Her messages kept backing up automatically. I found it at 2 in the morning. Kitchen table. Cold coffee. The house so quiet I could hear the central A cycling on and off. I opened the deleted Instagram thread first. January. Terrence's opening message. "I know it's been a while. I'm not here to complicate your life. I just think about you sometimes, and I got tired of pretending I don't. If that's too much, say the word." Samantha's reply. Same night, 11:58 p.m., while I was asleep in our bed 12 feet down the hall. "It's not too much." Then 3 months of messages. I already knew the name Terrence Okafor the way you know the name of a city your wife lived in before you. You've heard it, you could find it on a map, but you've never walked its streets. College boyfriend. Music producer. Morehigh's dropout who caught a break and ran with it. She mentioned him exactly once in 7 years, casual, past tense, and I filed him exactly where she seemed to want him, in the before. He hadn't stayed there. I read the WhatsApp thread between her and Claire next. All of it. The villa logistics. The fake group chat they built for cover. The careful architecture of a lie. And then the line. Patrick would never in a million years. I sat back in my chair. Not Patrick would be devastated. Not Patrick doesn't deserve this. Just, Patrick would never know. I saved everything. Labeled the folder June. Closed the laptop. I went to bed. Didn't cry. I had already moved past that part before I ever opened that laptop. What I felt was something quieter and heavier than tears. It was the grief of a black man who has spent his whole life being solid, being the one who stays, the one who shows up, and finding out that the person he built his life for had quietly decided that solid meant invisible. Terrence had a general booking line on his producer website. I called it at 11:30 on a Wednesday. My personal cell. Didn't care if he saw my name. He picked up third ring. Voice low, careful. Yeah, my name is Petrified, Samantha's husband. 4 seconds of silence. I counted everyone. I'm not calling to threaten you, I said. I'm not about to come out there making noise. I'm a grown man and I'm calling you man to man. I need you to know that I know, and I needed you to hear my voice when I said it, because I don't do things through back channels. He said, quietly, I hear you. Good, I said. That's all I needed from you. I hung up. I called him because Terrence had spent 4 months communicating with my wife like I was a footnote, like I was stage dressing in her real story. I needed him to hear my actual voice, not a text, not a rumor, not a story Samantha might tell about me later. My voice, my name, said plainly, by me. I wanted him to have to sit with that. My hand was steady when I put the phone down. I poured a glass of water and stood at the sink thinking about my father. Not the version I invented, the real one. The man who walked out for cigarettes one evening when I was 9 years old and decided somewhere between the front door and the corner store that he was done. No fight, no scene, just gone. My mother ironed his shirts for 2 weeks before she accepted he wasn't coming back. I thought about her getting smaller in that house. I thought, I will not get smaller. Brenda Osei had an office in Buckhead with 3 potted plants and the kind of quiet, precise energy that told you she had seen every version of this conversation and none of them surprised her anymore. I slid the folder across her desk. She opened it. Read without expression. You want to file now? She asked. I want everything ready, I said. I'll sign in 9 days. She studied me the way people study a man who is either being very disciplined or very dangerous. Most people want to move fast when they come in here. I need to hand it to her in person, I said. I need to be standing there. She nodded. She wrote something down. That evening Samantha texted, Tulum is everything, babe. Wish you could see this water wave. I wrote back, glad you made it safe. Next morning she sent a sunset photo. Her hand holding a glass at the edge of the terrace, the sky enormous and orange behind her. Missing you sunrise. I opened it, looked at it for a moment. Then I zoomed in, not on the water, not on her hand. On the large glass door of the villa reflected in the background. A man's silhouette, standing just inside. Still, I zoomed further. The resolution broke apart. No face, just the shape of a man inside my wife's villa while she photographed the sunset and sent it to her husband with a heart emoji. I put my phone face down. I confirmed my flight. Day 7. 6:45 out of Hartsfield Jackson. I was seated before they finished boarding. Messenger bag, carry-on, inside the bag, the sealed envelope from Brenda's office, my passport, charger, 1 change of clothes. No anger, no noise, just the folder and 7 weeks of quiet I had been building the way I build everything, load by load, deliberately, until the structure could hold whatever I needed to put on it. I read on the flight, looked out the window somewhere over the Gulf, and thought about the first time I took Samantha to the water. Savannah, early in our relationship, before we were official, before everything had a name. She stood at the edge of the Atlantic in a yellow sundress with her sandals in her hand and laughed at something I said, and I thought, with everything in me, this is her. This is my person. I thought about that version of her for a long time at 35,000 feet. I didn't hate her. That's what people won't understand. I grieved her, the way you grieve someone who is still alive. Complicated, led, with love and loss tangled up so tight you can't separate them cleanly. The wheels touched down in Cancun. I picked up my bag. I went to find a cab. The villa was beautiful. White stone, bougainvillea at the gate, the kind of place that costs enough to make you feel like you're somebody different. I paid the driver, got the villa number from the front desk, followed the stone path around the side of the property. I heard music before I got there. Something low, coming from the terrace. I came around the corner. Samantha was at the table with a book open in front of her that she was not reading. She looked up. She saw me. 1 second. 2. 3. No scream. No performance. Just 3 full seconds of the most unguarded expression I had ever seen on her face in 11 years of knowing her. Pure exposure. Like every carefully arranged thing she had ever said to me was suddenly rearranged and I could see what was underneath it. Then Claire stepped through the sliding glass door mid-sentence, drink in hand, and stopped dead. I looked at them both. I set my bag on the terrace table. "I'm not here to yell," I said. "I'd like you all to sit down." They sat today, and standing there on that terrace with the water behind them and the late afternoon sun coming down on everything, I understood something that hit me harder than any anger could, that the worst part wasn't what they'd done. It was how quiet everything was, how beautiful, how ordinary the world looked while mine was ending. I slid the envelope across the table until it sat in front of Samantha. Claire opened her mouth immediately. "Patrick, just let me explain." I raised one hand. "Not aggressive. The way you stop traffic on a busy street. Calm. Clear. Final." She stopped. "I spoke to Samantha only. I found out 3 weeks before you left. I didn't say anything because I needed to know the full picture before I said a word. Everything in that envelope is filed. My attorney is Brenda Osei in Buckhead. Her card is paper-clipped inside." Samantha looked at the envelope. She didn't touch it. I also called Terrence. Her eyes came up fast. Man to man. No threats. I just needed him to hear my voice. I paused. He was very quiet on the phone. Claire said, "Softer, Patrick." She didn't even. "Claire." I looked at her directly for the first time. "Your name is on that villa reservation. I got the screenshots of your group chat. I know you told her to go." I held her eyes. "You got to live with that. Not in front of me. On your own time." I stood. I picked up my bag. "My flight back is tomorrow morning. The house is still hers until the lawyers sort it. Take whatever time you need getting back." I looked at Samantha one last time. She was holding the envelope in both hands and she looked small, not weak, just stripped of everything she prepared to say. And something in me cracked quietly in a place I kept private. A place nobody was getting into. I turned around. I walked back up that stone path. I did not look back. I was home in Atlanta by Saturday afternoon. I unpacked my bag, did a load of laundry, drove to the Publix on Old National and bought groceries for one. And that recalibration, standing in that store, was its own kind of quiet grief. One yogurt, the smaller coffee. I stood in the cereal aisle staring at the box she liked that I always bought even though I don't eat it. I put it in the cart anyway. 9:47 that night. My phone rang. Cancun airport number. Her voice came through broken, not dramatic, the restrained kind of crying that tells you somebody has been holding it together for hours and just ran out of room. Behind her, the terminal noise, Spanish announcements overhead, the sound of luggage wheels on tile. I didn't go through with it. I didn't respond. "Patrick." My name came out fractured. I got there and I looked at him and I don't even know what I thought it was going to feel like. But it wasn't. I was going to tell you everything when I got home. I swear that on my grandmother. I stood in my kitchen. I looked at the coffee maker. The dish towel folded over the oven handle exactly the way she always folds it. She had folded that towel 1,000 times in this kitchen, and I had never once noticed until right now. "Get on your flight, Samantha. Are you coming to get me from the airport?" The divorce papers were on the kitchen table. "Let's talk when you get home," I said. I hung up. I sat down at the table. I looked at the envelope for a long time without moving it or putting it away. And here's the thing I've been sitting with ever since. The thing that's going to take me longer to understand than anything else in this story. She didn't say "I'm sorry." She didn't say I was wrong or "I love you" or "please don't leave." She said I didn't go through with it. Like the mercy she was handing me was the absence of the worst thing. Like not crossing the finish line was the same as never entering the race. I don't know yet if it changes anything. But I'd be lying if I said it changed nothing. My name is Patrick Pa. I'm from the south side of Atlanta. I build things designed to hold weight. Things people put their lives on top of and trust won't move. I thought I built my marriage the same way. Maybe I built it right and somebody else decided not to stand on it anymore. Maybe both things are true at the same time. I'm sitting at my kitchen table at 10 o'clock on a Saturday night with divorce papers in front of me, a box of cereal I don't eat on my counter, and a wife somewhere over the Gulf of Mexico flying home to a conversation neither one of us is ready for. And I'm still here, still at this table, still listening, because that's who I am. And no girls trip, no villa in Tulum, No man named Terrence is going to change that. But it's going to cost something. It already has.